The message came from the stars on a Tuesday morning when most of Earth was still sleeping. Dr. Kim Tae-ho was working late in his lab at the Seoul Space Communications Center when the computers started going crazy. Every screen flashed red warnings. Every speaker crackled with strange sounds that hurt his ears. He had never seen anything like this in his 20 years of listening to Space. Kim rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the data again. The signal was coming from somewhere far beyond Earth's solar system. It was not random noise from a dying star or interference from a satellite. This was a real message from someone, or something, that was trying to talk. The sounds were terrible. Even through the computer's filters, Kim could hear fear and pain. Whoever was sending this message was in serious trouble. He called his boss immediately. "Director Park, you need to come in right now," Kim said into his phone. "We have received something impossible." Director Park Hyun-sik arrived an hour later with a team of experts. They gathered around Kim's workstation and listened to the alien, voices crying out across the darkness of space. The sounds made everyone in the room feel cold inside. "How far away is this coming from?" Director Park asked. Kim checked his calculations again. "At least 50,000 light-years, sir. From the Andromeda sector. That's impossible. Nothing can send a signal that far and have it reach us this clearly." "I know, sir, but the quantum signature analysis confirms it. This is real." For the next 6 hours, Kim and his team worked to decode the message. They used every computer program they had. Slowly, words began to form from the alien sounds. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear enough to make everyone stop talking. "Help us. We are dying. The darkness eats our worlds. Our children scream in the void. We have tried everything. Our weapons do nothing. They adapt to everything we use. Please, if anyone can hear this across the great empty, help us. We are the last. When we fall, the hunger will spread. It will find you too. Help us." The room was quiet for a long time after they heard the full message. Director Park was the first to speak. "This has to be some kind of joke. A movie promotion or a military test." Kim shook his head. "Sir, I have checked everything. The signals, quantum signature is unlike anything made on Earth. The mathematical patterns in the transmission are based on physics we barely understand. This is real. Then what do we do with it? We report it to the Terran Defense Initiative. They need to know about this." The news reached Admiral Park Hyun-woo 3 days later. He was in his office on the space station above Earth, reading reports about the new fleet of warships humanity had built after the Seoul Defense Wars. The wars had ended only 5 years ago, when the last of Earth's nations finally agreed to work together under one government. Admiral Park was a tall man, with gray hair and scars on his hands from his years as a fighter pilot. He had fought in the orbital battles around Mars and had seen too many good people die in humanity's stupid wars. Now he commanded Earth's first real space fleet, 200 ships designed to protect humanity from threats in space. When he read the alien message, Admiral Park felt something he had not felt in years. Purpose. He called his senior officers to a meeting in the main briefing room. Captain Lee Da-eun was there, along with Commander Yoon Ji-soo and Dr. Kim Tae-ho, who had been brought up from Earth to explain what they had found. "Let me understand this correctly," Captain Lee said after hearing the report. "Aliens are asking for help, and you want us to fly 50,000 light-years to fight something we know nothing about." "That is exactly what I am suggesting," Admiral Park replied. "Sir, with respect, that sounds insane. We do not even know if our ships can make that journey. The experimental jump drives have never been tested at those distances." Commander Yoon spoke up. "And even if we could get there, what makes you think we can help? If their advanced technology cannot stop this threat, what can we do?" Dr. Kim cleared his throat. "Actually, there might be something we can do that they cannot." Everyone looked at him. "From what I understand about the message, these aliens developed their technology through peaceful means. They seem to be energy-based life forms or very advanced beings who never had to fight for survival like humans did." "So?" Captain Lee asked. "So they probably never learned how to make weapons designed to kill, real weapons. Brutal weapons. Admiral Park nodded slowly. You think they are asking for help because they need soldiers, not scientists? Exactly, sir. They need someone who knows how to fight dirty. The room was quiet again. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. How many ships do we have ready for deep space? Admiral Park asked. All 200 ships in the fleet are operational, sir, Captain Lee answered. But taking our entire defense force away from Earth. Earth can build more ships. But if this threat is real and if it spreads like the aliens say it will, then Earth will be in danger eventually anyway. Better to stop it now while we have allies to help us. Commander Yoon frowned. Sir, the government will never approve this mission. They will say it is too risky. Admiral Park smiled for the first time in the meeting. Then we will not ask for their permission. 2 weeks later, the entire first expeditionary fleet was ready to leave Earth's solar system. Admiral Park had convinced his officers by showing them more alien messages that had arrived. Each new message was weaker than the last. Whole star systems were going silent. Whatever was attacking the aliens was winning. The fleet gathered near Jupiter for the jump to hyperspace. 200 warships floated in formation around the massive flagship Sol's Pride. Each ship was loaded with weapons that had been designed during humanity's wars. Railguns, nuclear missiles, plasma cannons, and kinetic bombardment systems. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked out at his fleet. These ships represented everything humanity had learned about war. They were ugly, practical, and deadly. Nothing like the beautiful energy-based ships the aliens probably used. All ships report ready for jump, Captain Lee announced. Dr. Kim, are you certain about the coordinates? As certain as I can be, sir. The signal source should be in the Kepler Nebula region of the Andromeda sector. Admiral Park took a deep breath. He was about to lead humanity's first expedition beyond their home solar system. They were going to war in a part of space they had never seen, to help aliens they had never met against an enemy they knew nothing about. All ships, this is Admiral Park. We are going into the unknown to answer a call for help. Some of you may not make it home. But today humanity shows the galaxy what we learned during our darkest times, that sometimes the only way to protect peace is to be ready for war. He turned to Captain Lee. Begin the jump. Space twisted around the fleet as the experimental drives activated. In seconds, 200 human warships disappeared from Earth's solar system and began their journey across the galaxy to answer a desperate call for help. When they arrived in the Andromeda sector 3 days later, they found a graveyard of dead worlds and the remnants of a once great civilization hiding in the darkness between the stars. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace to find horror beyond imagination. Where star systems should have been full of light and life, there was only darkness. Entire planets had been stripped down to their metal cores. Moons hung lifeless in space, their surfaces covered with strange organic growths that pulsed with sickly light. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of Sol's Pride and watched the sensor readings with growing dread. How many worlds? He asked quietly. Lieutenant Kang, So Young, checked her instruments. Scanners show evidence of at least 40 inhabited systems in this sector, sir. All of them are dead now. Any signs of survivors? We are picking up faint energy signatures from the Kepler Nebula. Something is hiding in there. Set course for the nebula. All ships maintain battle formation. As the fleet moved deeper into the dead sector, they began to see the enemy. Massive organic ships drifted through space like diseased whales. Each one was the size of a small moon, covered in what looked like living armor that shifted and moved on its own. The ships had no clear shape. They seemed to grow and change as the humans watched. Those are not ships, Dr. Kim Tae-ho said, as he studied the readings. Those are creatures, living things the size of cities. Commander Yoon Ji-soo was running tactical analysis on her fighter squadron's computers. Sir, I count over 300 of those things in sensor range, and they are all moving toward the nebula, the same place where we detected survivors, Captain Lee Daeun realized. They are hunting whoever is left. Admiral Park made his decision quickly. All ships increase speed. We reach the survivors before those things do. The human fleet raced toward the nebula as the massive bioships slowly converged on the same area. It was going to be close. Inside the Kepler Nebula, hidden within clouds of gas and dust. The last survivors of the Galactic Coalition waited to die. The beings who had once ruled 1,000 worlds now huddled in a makeshift base built from the wreckage of their finest ships. They were a collection of different species, some made of living crystal, others were beings of pure energy, and many were forms that defied easy description. Ambassador No Sung Min would later learn their names. The ethereals who communicated through light patterns, the crystal singers whose bodies rang like music when they moved, the cloud dancers who existed as organized gases, and dozens of other species who had lived together in peace for millions of years. They had never known war. Their technology was based on harmony with nature, not domination over it. Their ships were grown rather than built, using energy patterns that worked with the fundamental forces of the universe. They had created paradise among the stars. Until the void swarm arrived. High Counselor. One of the ethereals pulsed in worried colors. The Dark Ones are approaching again. Our concealment fields will not hold much longer. The High Counselor, an ancient crystal singer whose body hummed with centuries of accumulated wisdom, resonated sadly. We have done all we can. Perhaps it is time to accept that our age has ended. That was when the human fleet burst through. The nebula's outer edge. The alien sensors detected the new arrivals immediately. 200 ships, but unlike anything in their databases. These vessels were angular, aggressive, covered in what appeared to be weapon systems. They radiated heat signatures and electromagnetic patterns that spoke of barely controlled violence. New contacts, the energy being monitoring communications, flashed in panic. Unknown design. They are heading directly toward us. More Dark Ones? The High Counselor asked. No, these are different. Smaller, but they feel dangerous. Admiral Park received the first alien transmission as his fleet approached the hidden base. Unknown vessels. The translation system rendered the alien words. Please state your intentions. We are refugees seeking only to survive. We have nothing of value to take. Ambassador No Sung Min stepped forward on the bridge. As Earth's chief diplomatic representative, he had studied every first contact protocol humanity had developed, but none of them covered this situation. Alien vessels, this is Ambassador No Sung Min of the Terran Defense Initiative. We received your distress call. We are here to help. The silence that followed lasted for nearly 10 minutes. You came to help? The alien voice sounded confused. You crossed the void to help strangers? Yes. But you are predators. We can sense it from your ships, from your very presence. Predators do not help. Dr. Kim Tae-ho frowned at his console. Sir, I think they are afraid of us. Afraid? We came to rescue them. Sir, remember what I said about their peaceful development. They probably have never encountered a species that evolved through violence. To them, we might seem as dangerous as their attackers. Ambassador No activated the communications again. We understand you are frightened. Yes, humanity evolved as predators, but we use our strength to protect others now. We came because you asked for help. After more discussion, the aliens agreed to allow a small diplomatic shuttle to approach their base. No, Dr. Kim, and a small security team boarded the shuttle and made humanity's first contact with alien civilization. The meeting took place in a chamber that hurt human eyes to look at. The walls seemed to be made of crystallized light, and the air itself sparkled with energy patterns. The alien representatives were even stranger than their messages had suggested. The High Counselor spoke through harmonic vibrations that the translation system converted into words. We welcome you, predator children of the far spiral, though we admit we do not understand why you have come. We came because you asked for help, No replied. Your message reached Earth. We decided to answer it. But you gain nothing from helping us. Your species does not even know us. Why would predators risk themselves for strangers? Dr. Kim spoke up. Because that is what good predators do. We protect the pack, and sometimes the pack is bigger than just our own species. The Crystal Singer's harmonics shifted to what might have been surprise. You consider us pack? If you want our help? Yes. For the next several hours, the humans learned about the Galactic Coalition and the terror that had destroyed it. The aliens explained about the Void Swarm, creatures from the space between galaxies that consumed entire civilizations. They adapted to any energy-based attack, absorbing and redirecting the power back at their enemies. We tried everything, the High Counselor sang sadly. Plasma bursts, gravity weapons, quantum disruptors, reality warping fields. The Dark Ones absorbed it all and grew stronger. They learned from every attack. Captain Lee, who had joined the diplomatic team, studied the tactical recordings the aliens provided. These bioships, they can adapt to energy weapons, but have they ever faced kinetic weapons? Kinetic? An ethereal flashed in confusion. You mean physical projectiles? Bullets, missiles, railgun slugs moving at significant fractions of light speed. The aliens were quiet for a long moment. We do not use such crude methods, the High Counselor finally said. Physical violence is not our way. Physical violence is how we solve problems when everything else fails, Lee replied. And from what you have told us, everything else has failed. Dr. Kim was studying his readings of the alien base. High Counselor, may I ask about your weapons technology? How do your ships fight? We do not fight. We defend by redirecting aggression, by calming hostile forces, by seeking harmony with all things. But the Void Swarm does not want harmony. No, they want only to consume. They are hunger given form, and they cannot be reasoned with or deflected. Captain Lee smiled grimly. Then it is a good thing we brought unreasonable weapons. The aliens did not understand what she meant until alarms began sounding throughout the base. High Counselor, the energy being at communications flashed urgently. The Dark Ones have found us. 3 bioships approaching fast. The Coalition survivors began preparing to flee once again, as they had done dozens of times before. But Admiral Park's voice came over the communication system with words they had never heard before in this context. Coalition base, this is Admiral Park Hyunwoo of the Terran Defense Initiative. We have your enemy on our sensors. All civilian vessels move to safe distance. We will handle this. The High Counselor's harmonics rose in alarm. Admiral, you do not understand. These Dark Ones cannot be defeated. You must flee while you can. High Counselor, Park replied. Today you learn what it means to have Deathworlders as allies, all ships, battle stations. Today we show the galaxy how Earth's children fight. The 3 Void Swarm bioships emerged from the nebula's depths like nightmares given form. Each creature was over 20 kilometers long, covered in writhing organic armor that shifted and pulsed with its own life. Tentacles the size of skyscrapers waved through space, tipped with weapons that had destroyed 1,000 worlds. The ships had no clear front or back. They were living things that had grown for centuries, feeding on the remains of civilizations. The Coalition survivors watched in terror as the Dark Ones approached. They had seen this same scene play out dozens of times before. Soon, the Predator children from Earth would be destroyed just like every other species that had tried to fight. The Swarm. All human vessels maintain formation. Admiral Park's voice was calm over the communications. Target the lead bioship. Wait for my command. The Void Swarm ships began charging their weapons. Energy patterns danced across their organic hulls, as they prepared to fire the same devastating attacks that had shattered the Coalition's finest fleets. Sir, they are powering up some kind of plasma cannon, Lieutenant Kang reported. Energy readings are off the scale. Let them fire first, Park ordered. I want to see what we are dealing with. The lead bioship released a beam of concentrated energy that could have melted a small moon. The blast screamed across space toward the human fleet with power that made the Coalition survivors weep for these brave strangers who were about to die. The energy beam struck Sol's Pride dead center. The human flagship's shields absorbed the impact, flickered for a moment, then held steady. On the Coalition base, the aliens stared at their sensors in shock. No ship had ever survived a direct hit from a void swarm energy weapon. How? The High Counselor sang in amazement. Captain Lee smiled as she watched the tactical display. Because we built our shields to stop energy weapons during our own wars. We know how to defend against this. Admiral Park's voice echoed across the fleet. All ships return fire. Show them how Earth's children fight. What happened next would be talked about across the galaxy for generations. 200 human warships opened fire at the same time, but instead of energy beams or exotic particles, they fired physical projectiles. Railgun slugs accelerated to incredible speeds. Nuclear missiles with old-fashioned explosive warheads. Kinetic penetrators designed to punch through the thickest armor ever made. The void swarm bioships tried to adapt to the incoming attack, just as they had done against every enemy for millions of years. Their organic hulls shifted, trying to absorb and redirect the energy of the weapons. But there was no energy to redirect. The railgun slugs punched through the bioship's armor like bullets through paper. Nuclear explosions ripped massive holes in organic hulls. Kinetic missiles slammed into the creatures at a significant fraction of light speed, delivering devastating impacts that no living thing could adapt to. The lead bioship shuddered as dozens of projectiles tore through its body. Green fluid that might have been blood sprayed into space. For the first time in eons, a void swarm creature screamed in pain across all frequencies. Target its movement organs. Captain Lee ordered her weapons teams. Take out whatever it uses to fly. More railgun fire focused on the bioship's propulsion system. The creature began to drift helplessly as its ability to maneuver was destroyed. Commander Yoon Ji-soo led her fighter squadron in a strafing attack on the second bioship. Her pilots had trained for space combat during the Sol Defense Wars, learning to dodge and weave through defensive fire while delivering precise strikes. Gold Squadron, target the weapon clusters, Yoon commanded. Use armor-piercing rounds on the organic sections. The human fighters swarmed around the massive bioship like angry wasps. Their weapons were small compared to the main fleet's guns, but they were accurate. Each fighter pilot picked specific targets, weapon ports, sensor clusters, anything that looked important. The bioship tried to swat the fighters with its tentacles, but the pilots were too fast and too skilled. They had learned to fight in three-dimensional space combat, where a single mistake meant death. This is impossible. One of the ethereals flashed in amazement as they watched the battle. Nothing can hurt the Dark Ones. The Predator children are not using energy, the High Counselor realized. They are using crude force, simple physics. And it is working. The third bioship tried to escape, but Colonel Baek Jin-woo had other plans. Baek commanded the marine assault ships, vessels designed to get close to enemy ships and deploy boarding parties. It was a tactic that only humans had ever developed, because only humans were crazy enough to fight inside enemy ships. Sir, requesting permission to board the fleeing target, Baek reported to Admiral Park. Board it? Colonel, that thing is 20 kilometers long and full of hostile aliens. Yes, sir. Perfect for marine operations. Admiral Park paused for a moment, then smiled. Permission granted. Show them what human marines can do. Baek's assault ship Incheon's Fury accelerated toward the fleeing bioship. The organic creature fired its weapons at the small vessel, but Baek's pilot was skilled at evasive maneuvers. They reached the bioship's hull and used cutting charges to blow a hole in its armor. 50 Marines in combat armor poured into the alien vessel. The inside of the bioship was like a nightmare. The corridors were alive, pulsing with organic rhythms. Strange creatures that might have been the ship's crew or its immune system attacked the humans with claws and acid. But the Marines had trained for hostile environments. They moved through the living ship in small teams, using flamethrowers to clear the corridors and explosives to destroy anything that looked important. This is Team Alpha, Sergeant Han Woo-jin reported over the radio. We have found what looks like a brain center. Big pulsing thing covered in nerve clusters. Destroy it, Baek ordered. Han-S team placed demolition charges around the organic brain and retreated to a safe distance. The explosion that followed seemed to paralyze the entire bio-ship. Within an hour, all three void swarm creatures were either destroyed or helpless. The Coalition survivors could barely believe what they had witnessed. How? The High Counselor asked when Admiral Park came aboard the alien base for a victory conference. How did you defeat them so easily? It was not easy, Park replied. We lost 12 ships and 200 good people, but we won because the swarm had never fought anyone like us before. Dr. Kim was studying recordings of the battle on his portable computer. The bioships are adapted to absorb and redirect energy attacks, but they have no defense against simple kinetic force. A railgun slug is just a piece of metal moving very fast. There is no energy to absorb. But more importantly, Captain Lee added, they had never fought anyone who thinks like humans do. What do you mean? An ethereal asked. You build your technology around harmony and peace. That is beautiful, but it makes you predictable. Humans learned to fight by trying to kill each other for thousands of years. We think about warfare differently. Commander Yoon spoke up from where she was checking her fighter squadron status. During the battle, I noticed the bioships always tried to target our biggest ships first. That is logical if you are fighting energy-based weapons. Take out the biggest threat. But our fighters did just as much damage with smaller weapons. And they never expected boarding tactics, Colonel Bayek added. The idea of fighting inside an enemy ship was completely foreign to them. Ambassador No had been quiet during the discussion, but now he spoke thoughtfully. High Counselor, your species developed advanced technology through millions of years of peaceful cooperation. That is remarkable, but it also means you never learned to think like predators. And that is what we need to survive against the swarm? Yes. The Void Swarm is not interested in peace or harmony. They only understand strength. Sometimes, the only way to protect peace is to be very good at war. The High Counselor's harmonics shifted to what might have been understanding. You are saying we need to learn to fight like you. We are saying we need to work together, Admiral Park corrected. Your technology is incredibly advanced. Our tactics are proven effective. Together we might be able to stop the swarm from spreading to other parts of the galaxy. As if summoned by his words, Lieutenant Kang's voice came over the communications, with urgent news. Sir, long-range sensors are detecting massive movement in the outer system. It looks like hundreds of bioships all heading this way. The victory celebration ended immediately. Admiral Park studied the sensor data with growing concern. How many? He asked. At least 500 confirmed contacts, sir. Possibly more. The High Counselor's song became a low, mournful tone. You have attracted the attention of the Prime Hunger. It knows now that something can hurt its children. It will bring the full swarm to destroy us. Admiral Park looked out at his damaged fleet. They had won their first battle, but at a cost. Against hundreds of bioships, they would not survive. How long do we have? He asked. 2 days, maybe 3, Kang replied. Then we use that time to prepare. Send a message to Earth. Tell them to send everything they have. Sir, even if they sent the entire defense fleet, it would take weeks to reach us. Admiral Park smiled grimly. Then we hold the line until they arrive. Today we prove that humans can fight the swarm. Now we prove that humans do not run from a fight. The Prime Hunger had been sleeping for 1,000 years when the pain woke it up. Somewhere in the galaxy, 3 of its children had died. Not just died. They had been killed by something that should not exist. The Prime Hunger felt their death, screams across the void, and knew that after millions of years it finally faced a real threat. The ancient entity was older than most stars. It had consumed entire galaxies, turning countless worlds into food for its endless appetite. It had faced every type of weapon, every form of technology, every desperate strategy that civilizations could devise. Nothing had ever truly hurt it before. But now something had learned to fight back. The Prime Hunger began to move. Around it, 10,000 bioships responded to its call. Some were small scouts no bigger than human destroyers. Others were massive world killers the size of moons. All of them shared the same purpose: to feed the eternal hunger that drove their master. As they traveled toward the Kepler Nebula, the Prime Hunger began adapting its children for this new threat. Back at the Coalition base, Admiral Park stood, In the command center watching sensor readings that grew worse by the hour. Final count is 8,000 bioships, Lieutenant Kang reported. They will arrive in 36 hours. Any word from Earth? Park asked. Message received and confirmed, sir. Fleet Admiral Seo Jae-hyun is leading a response force, but they cannot reach us for another 2 weeks. Captain Lee looked up from her tactical planning. Sir, even if we had our full fleet here, we could not fight 8,000 enemies. We need a different strategy. Suggestions? We run. Take the coalition survivors and find somewhere to hide until reinforcements arrive. No. The voice came from the High Counselor, who had been listening to the human discussions. Running will not work. The prime hunger will follow us anywhere now. It knows we exist. Dr. Kim Tae-ho had been studying the alien database all night. High Counselor, tell me about this prime hunger. What exactly is it? The Crystal Singer's harmonics became dark and fearful. It is the first of the swarm, the original hunger that spawned all others. It has existed since before our civilizations began. Every few million years it awakens to feed on entire galactic regions. How big is it? Bigger than your largest moons. It is not just a ship. It is a living world that creates the smaller bioships from its own body. Commander Yoon was running calculations on her computer. If it is that large, it will be slow and hard to maneuver. That gives us some tactical advantages. You do not understand, the High Counselor sang sadly. Size is not its only weapon. The prime hunger has absorbed the knowledge of every species it has consumed. It knows all forms of technology, all types of warfare. It will adapt to your tactics just as its children tried to do. Tried to do, Park repeated. But they failed. They could not adapt to kinetic weapons. The prime hunger will not make the same mistake twice. As if to prove the aliens' words, the first wave of adapted bioships arrived 12 hours early. These creatures looked different from the ones the humans had fought before. Their organic armor was thicker and layered in overlapping plates. Strange, metallic structures grew from their hulls, clearly copied from human ship designs. They have been studying our weapons, Captain Lee observed as she watched the enemy approach. Those metal plates are designed to deflect kinetic projectiles. Admiral Park nodded grimly. Then we adapt too. All ships, switch to high explosive rounds. Let's see how their armor handles nuclear fire. The second battle was much harder than the first. The adapted bioships had learned from their predecessors' deaths. When human railguns fired, the creatures used their tentacles as shields, sacrificing parts of themselves to protect vital organs. When nuclear missiles approached, they released clouds of organic matter that absorbed the explosions. But humans had been adapting to warfare longer than the swarm had existed. Gold Squadron, target the tentacle joints, Commander Yoon ordered. Her pilots. Make them choose between defense and mobility. The human fighters swarmed the bioships, forcing them to use their tentacles for protection instead of attack. This left them vulnerable to the main fleet's heavy weapons. Colonel Bayek led another boarding assault. But this time his Marines faced prepared defenses. The bioship's interior was filled with acidic gases and organic weapons that had been grown specifically to fight humans. This is not working, Sergeant Han reported as his team fought through corridors that actively tried to digest them. They have adapted their internal defenses. Then we adapt faster, Beck replied. Switch to environmental suits and use plasma cutters. Burn everything. The Marines changed tactics, using their technology's advantages over organic matter. Plasma. Cutters could burn through living tissue faster than it could regenerate. Environmental suits protected them from biological attacks. After 6 hours of brutal fighting, the humans won again, but the cost was higher. 30 ships lost and 500 casualties. This is only the advance force, Dr. Kim pointed out, as they counted their losses. The main swarm will be even more adapted. That was when Admiral Park received unexpected help. Admiral, this is Dr. Park Sun-hee aboard the medical ship Busan's Hope, came a voice over long-range communications. I am requesting permission to join the fleet. Park frowned. Sun-Hee was his younger sister, a brilliant scientist who specialized in biological weapons, but she was supposed to be back on Earth. Sun-Hee, what are you doing out here? Someone needs to study these bioships up close. I have some ideas about their vulnerabilities. It is too dangerous. Return to Earth immediately. Sorry, big brother. I am already here. The medical ship emerged from hyperspace along with 50 other vessels, the advance elements of Earth's Second Fleet under Vice Admiral Oh Kyung-suk. Admiral Park. Oh's voice was crisp and professional. I bring greetings from Fleet Admiral SEO and some new toys he thought you might need. The reinforcements were welcome, but they were still outnumbered 50-1 by the approaching swarm. Dr. Park Sun-Hee came aboard Seoul's Pride with samples she had collected from the destroyed bioships. Her analysis revealed something important. These creatures are not just organic, she explained to the command staff. They are a hybrid of biological and technological systems. But the biological part is vulnerable to something they have never encountered before. Which is, Admiral Park asked, Earth pathogens, diseases, viruses and bacteria that evolved on a world where life constantly fights other life. Captain Lee leaned forward with interest. You mean we can make them sick? More than that, these bioships have no immune system, designed to handle Earth-based microorganisms. A single influenza virus could potentially kill creatures the size of cities. That seems too easy, Commander Yoon said skeptically. It is not easy, Sun-Hee replied. We would need to deliver the biological weapons directly to their most vulnerable systems, and we would need to do it to the prime hunger itself to stop the entire swarm. Vice Admiral Oh had been studying the tactical situation. Even with biological weapons, getting close to something that size will be nearly impossible. The prime hunger will be protected by thousands of bioships. Then we need a distraction, Park decided. Something so threatening that the prime hunger has to focus all its attention on stopping us. Dr. Kim looked up from his analysis of the swarm's movement patterns. Admiral, I have been studying their approach vector. The prime hunger is taking a direct route toward us. It is not trying to be subtle. Meaning it is confident it can destroy us easily. It does not see us as a real threat. Captain Lee smiled. Then we show it how wrong it is. We hit it with everything we have. Every weapon, every ship, every tactic humans have ever developed. Make it think we are trying to destroy it with conventional warfare. While a small team delivers the biological weapons, Admiral Park finished. It could work. The plan they developed was desperate, dangerous, and completely insane by any reasonable standard. It was also exactly the kind of plan that only humans would attempt. As the main swarm approached the Kepler Nebula, Admiral Park prepared his fleet for the most important battle in human history. They would face an enemy that had consumed galaxies, commanded by an entity older than Earth's sun. But they had something the prime hunger had never encountered before. The stubborn refusal of humans to surrender when protecting others. Ships, prepare for combat, Park announced to the combined fleet. Today we show the galaxy that humans do not run from bullies no matter how big they are. In the distance, the prime hunger's massive form began to blot out the stars. The final battle was about to begin. The prime hunger filled the view screen like a living nightmare. The ancient entity was larger than Earth's moon, its surface covered in organic towers that pulsed with sickly light. Thousands of smaller bioships swarmed around it like insects around a corpse. After millions of years of feeding on civilizations, it had come to devour one more. Fleet Admiral Seo Jae-hyun arrived with the full Second Fleet just as the enemy came within weapons range. His 300 ships joined Admiral Park's remaining forces, bringing humanity's total strength to 500 vessels. Against 10,000 bioships and the prime hunger itself, it still seemed impossible. All human vessels, Fleet Admiral Seo announced across all frequencies. This is our final test. Today we fight not just for humanity, but for every species that chooses peace over hunger. Make our homeworld proud. The battle began with the largest exchange of fire in galactic history. The prime hunger's escort ships launched energy beams that could melt asteroids. Organic missiles the size of buildings screamed through space. Bioships tried to ram the human vessels, using their mass as weapons. But humanity had prepared for this moment. All ships, implement the Deathworld doctrine, Admiral Park ordered. Captain Lee had spent weeks developing this strategy. Instead of fighting like a civilized species with organized formations and predictable tactics, the human fleet split into hunting packs that attacked with no apparent pattern. Individual ships broke formation to chase targets across the battlefield. Fighter squadrons ignored their assigned objectives to help allies in trouble. Marines boarded enemy vessels while their own ships were still under fire. To any reasonable military force, it looked like chaos. But humans had learned to fight in chaos. Every pilot, every gunner, every Marine was trained to make independent decisions when communication was cut and command structures collapsed. They did not need orders to fight. They just needed targets. The prime hunger, which had absorbed the knowledge of a million civilizations, had never seen anything like it. The predator children fight like they are insane. It communicated to its bioships through genetic telepathy. Focus fire on their command vessels. Remove their leadership. But humans had no single point of failure. When Soul's pride took heavy damage and Admiral Park was injured, Captain Lee took command. When Lee's ship was destroyed, Commander Yoon continued the battle plan. When Yoon was forced to retreat for repairs, Colonel Bayek coordinated the fleet from his marine assault ship. Dr. Park Sun-hee watched the battle from her medical ship and realized this was her chance. Captain Nam Yu-jin, she called to the pilot of the experimental ship Inchin's Fury *. I need you to get me to the Prime Hunger's surface. Nam looked at her as if she had lost her mind. Doctor, that thing is surrounded by thousands of hostile ships. It would be suicide. Not suicide. Tactical deployment of biological weapons. Nam studied the tactical display. Every few seconds, another human ship disappeared in fire and explosion. The fleet was fighting bravely, but they were being overwhelmed. What do you need me to do? He asked. Sun-He-S plan was simple in concept, impossible in execution. Incheon's Fury * would carry a cargo of Earth viruses and bacteria directly to the Prime Hunger's core systems. But first, they needed to get through the enemy defenses. I have an idea for that, Corporal Lee Hai-jin said from the Marine Bay. She was part of Colonel Bayek's Special Forces unit, trained for the most dangerous missions. But you are not going to like it. The plan required Nam to fly directly at the Prime Hunger while broadcasting human music at maximum volume. Dr. Kim Tae-ho had discovered something interesting about the swarm's hive mind. It operated on harmonic frequencies that allowed perfect coordination between all bioships. But human music, with its chaotic rhythms and emotional discord, disrupted those frequencies. Broadcasting Bach's War Requiem on all channels, Nam announced, as his ship screamed toward the massive entity. The effect on the swarm was immediate and devastating. Bio-ships that had moved in perfect formation suddenly collided with each other. Weapon systems fired at random targets. The hive mind that had coordinated the swarm for millions of years began to break down as human music flooded their communication channels. It is working, Lieutenant Kang reported from her position on the damaged Soul's Pride. The bioships are losing coordination. Admiral Park, despite his injuries, smiled from his medical bed. All ships broadcast everything we have. Music, poetry, human laughter, war cries drive them crazy. The human fleet began transmitting the chaotic sounds of human culture. Rock music mixed with classical symphonies. Children's laughter interrupted military marching songs. The sounds of human emotion, joy, rage, sorrow, hope, flooded the battlefield. The Prime Hunger, for the first time in its existence, felt something close to confusion. What are these sounds? It demanded of its bioships. They make no sense. They serve no purpose. That is the point, Fleet Admiral Seo said, as if the ancient entity could hear him. Humans do not make sense. We are chaos wearing the shape of reason. While the swarm struggled with sensory overload, Nam's ship reached the Prime Hunger's surface. The entity was so massive that its organic towers created canyons and valleys across its body. Finding a suitable entry point, Nam reported as he guided Inchin's fury asterisk between structures that could have housed entire cities. Corporal Lee and her Marines used cutting charges to burn through the Prime Hunger's outer shell. The entity's immune system responded immediately, sending organic defenders to stop the intruders. But the Marines had trained for hostile environments. They fought through corridors of living flesh, using flamethrowers to clear paths and explosives, to destroy anything that moved. This way, Dr. Sun-hee called, following her readings toward the entity's core systems. The central nervous cluster should be just ahead. They found it in a chamber that defied description. The Prime Hunger's brain was a mass of organic processors the size of city blocks, connected by nerve networks that pulsed with the thoughts of a being older than civilizations. Deploy the biological weapons, Sun-hee ordered. The Marines released containers of Earth viruses and bacteria throughout the chamber, microorganisms that had evolved in the violent ecosystem of humanity's homeworld, began to attack the alien biology. The Prime Hunger's scream could be heard across the entire star system. It is working, Sun-hee reported over the radio. The pathogens are spreading through its nervous system. But the Prime Hunger was not defeated yet. In its death throes, it began to collapse its own structure, trying to kill the humans inside it. We need to get out of here now, Corporal Lee said as the organic walls began to close around them. Nam brought Inchin's fury asterisk as close as possible, but the Prime Hunger's convulsions made it impossible to reach the extraction point. Leave us, Sun-hee told her brother over the radio. The mission is complete. The biological weapons will spread throughout the swarm. No, Admiral Park replied firmly. We do not leave people behind. That was when Captain Nam made his decision. He flew Inchin's fury asterisk directly into the collapsing chamber, using his ship as a battering ram to create an escape route. The explosion that followed marked the end of Nam's heroic sacrifice, and the beginning of the Prime Hunger's death. Without their master's coordination, the 10,000 bioships began to drift helplessly. The biological weapons spread from ship to ship through their shared organic connections. Within hours, the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known was dying from common Earth microbes. The surviving human fleet gathered around the Coalition base to watch the swarm's final moments. Bioships that had terrorized civilizations for millions of years simply stopped moving as the alien pathogens shut down their biological systems. It is over, the High Counselor sang in harmonics of wonder and relief. After so long, it is finally over. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of Soul's Pride, his arm in a medical sling, watching the end of the war. Casualties? He asked Captain Lee. 200 ships lost, 8,000 personnel. Captain Nam Yu-jin confirmed killed in action. Park nodded solemnly. Every loss hurt, but they had saved entire civilizations. The price was heavy, but the alternative would have been the death of all life in the galaxy. Fleet Admiral Seo joined them on the bridge. Admiral Park, I have received orders from Earth. You are to establish the first Terran embassy to the Galactic Coalition. It seems humanity has been officially invited to join galactic civilization. Dr. Kim Tae-ho looked up from his analysis of the defeated bioships. Sir, the Coalition species are asking if we would be willing to teach them our military doctrines. They want to learn how to defend themselves. And what did you tell them? That humans would be honored to share our knowledge, but only for defense, never for conquest. Over the following months, the galaxy began to change. The Coalition worlds that had survived the swarm began to rebuild, but with a new understanding. They established the Terran Military Academy on a neutral world, where peaceful species could learn the controlled use of violence for defensive purposes. Human instructors taught alien cadets about tactics, strategy, and the warrior's code that protected the innocent. In return, the aliens shared their advanced technology and peaceful philosophies with humanity.